My name is Elizabeth Croft. For years, I had dedicated my life to the dusty halls of the Grand Academy, meticulously studying the ancient texts. I pored over countless maps and my personal journal, tracing the intricate patterns of the world's energy currents. A profound anxiety gnawed at me, a growing certainty that something was terribly wrong, something the other scholars refused to acknowledge. My journal held the stark evidence. Page after page, I had painstakingly charted the world's ley lines, the vital arteries of magical energy that sustained all life. But recent observations, painstakingly recorded, revealed a terrifying truth. Vast sections of these currents were not merely weakening, they were actively failing. I marked these dying veins in stark, ominous red. The world outside offered a chilling corroboration of my theories. From the Academy's highest window, I often gazed upon the distant hillsides, once vibrant with life. Now they were stark monuments to decay. The petrified blight, a creeping plague, had turned once lush forests into grotesque sculptures of gray, brittle stone. The silence it brought was truly dreadful. I presented my meticulously gathered findings to the Academy's Council, a collection of elderly, entrenched scholars. They listened, if one could call it that, with an air of condescending indifference. My detailed diagrams and urgent warnings were met with dismissive waves of the hand, their faces etched with skepticism. They scoffed at my alarmist theories, preferring to cling to outdated doctrines. That night, the frustration of their dismissal solidified my resolve. In the quiet solitude of my quarters, I began to pack a small, practical bag. This journey, I understood, I would undertake alone. From a hidden compartment in my desk, I carefully retrieved the Athelian compass, its dark metal cool beneath my fingers. Its inner crystal pulsed with a soft, ethereal blue light. Before the first hint of dawn, I slipped silently from the Academy gates. The massive stone archway loomed behind me, a symbol of the knowledge I was leaving and the ignorance I was fleeing. I paused only once, casting a solitary glance back at the imposing structure, its silhouette dark against the nascent gray light of morning. A profound sense of loneliness settled upon me, yet my resolve remained unshaken. My journey led me north, deeper into the encroaching blight. With each passing day, the landscape grew progressively more barren and desolate. The vibrant greens of memory faded into an endless expanse of gray, the ground crunching underfoot like shattered glass. The air itself felt heavy, lifeless, a testament to the petrified blight's relentless advance. After weeks of arduous travel, I arrived at a small, grim frontier village nestled at the base of the northern mountains. Its buildings, constructed from rough-hewn timber and gray stone, seemed to sag under the weight of despair. The villagers I encountered moved slowly, their faces etched with weariness and a profound hopelessness. They were survivors, but barely. I sought refuge in the village tavern, a smoky, dimly lit establishment. Despite the unwelcoming atmosphere, I approached the bar, my voice clear as I inquired about a guide. I needed someone who knew the treacherous, blighted northern mountains. The patrons, huddled over their drinks, either laughed derisively or pointedly ignored me, their cynicism a thick, isolating wall. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm me, I noticed a man in a shadowed corner. He was rugged, with a weathered face and a short, graying beard. Unlike the others, he didn't laugh or turn away. James Bennett, as I would later learn, watched me with a quiet, calculating expression, his piercing blue eyes unreadable. Perhaps, I thought, a sliver of hope remained. I found James Bennett near the village's makeshift smithy, his calloused hands repairing a broken pickaxe. His weathered face, etched with years of hardship, showed no surprise as I approached. "You want to go into the blight?" he grunted, not looking up. "It's suicide, scholar. Nothing but gray dust and silent death out there." Despite his cynicism, I extended my hand, revealing the ethylene compass. Its crystal pulsed with a soft, ethereal blue light, a stark contrast to the dull, dying world around us. James finally looked up, his piercing blue eyes fixed on the artifact. A flicker of surprise, then curiosity, crossed his usually stoic features. His skepticism, though deeply ingrained, seemed to waver, if only for a moment. "This could guide us," I stated, my voice firm. He considered the compass, then me, a calculating glint in his eyes. "The mountains are treacherous, even for me. My services won't come cheap, scholar." He named a sum that would have fed a family for a year. Without a moment's hesitation, I met his gaze and simply said, "Agreed." The following morning, before the first light truly broke, we departed the village. The last vestiges of civilization receded behind us, replaced by the encroaching desolation. Ahead, the jagged peaks of the blighted mountains loomed, a stark, gray silhouette against the pale dawn sky. A sense of daunting hope propelled me forward into the unknown. The journey immediately proved arduous. We entered a vast field where the once lush grass had been transformed into brittle, razor-sharp shards of gray stone. Every step required careful placement, our worn boots crunching loudly on the petrified ground. The air was still, silent, amplifying the unsettling reality of the petrified blight's destructive power. I frequently consulted the ethylene compass. Its blue light intensified, guiding us along an unseen path, often through areas James himself would have deemed impassable. He watched me, his gaze fixed on the glowing crystal, a furrow in his brow. Despite the undeniable evidence before him, his deep-seated skepticism still lingered, a silent battle playing out in his eyes. As dusk deepened, we made a small camp amidst the petrified trees. James expertly coaxed a small fire to life, its flickering warmth a stark, comforting contrast to the cold, oppressive silence of the blighted land. Beyond our small circle of light, the gray, twisted forms of the blighted landscape stretched endlessly, a silent, unsettling reminder of our perilous journey. The silence was eventually broken by James. He stared into the flames, his voice uncharacteristically soft, almost a whisper. "Used to be a small farm, just over that ridge," he murmured, gesturing vaguely into the darkness. "Good cider. Now, just more gray." It was the first personal detail he had shared, a quiet confession of loss. I looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time beyond his gruff exterior. His quiet sorrow revealed a motivation far deeper than the exorbitant fee he had demanded. His cynicism was not born of indifference, but of profound loss, a personal wound inflicted by the very blight we sought to overcome. A newfound understanding settled between us. The next morning, the dynamic between us had subtly shifted. The previous night's shared vulnerability had forged an unspoken bond. We moved with a newfound synchronicity, a silent partnership forming as we navigated the treacherous terrain. His competence as a guide, combined with the compass's unerring direction, created a seamless, determined advance against the pervasive blight. As Elizabeth and James ascended the treacherous mountain path, the air grew thinner and the landscape more desolate. Elizabeth clutched the ethylene compass tightly. Its internal crystal, once a soft, steady blue, now pulsed with an undeniable intensity. A vibrant, almost urgent light emanated from it, illuminating her gloved hand and casting fleeting shadows on the craggy rock faces. She knew they were nearing a significant source of magical energy, a confirmation that both thrilled and unnerved her. Rounding a sharp bend, they encountered a massive rockfall that completely blocked their way. James, ever pragmatic, immediately began assessing the stability of the piled boulders, muttering about the futility of moving such a mass. However, Elizabeth noticed an unsettling precision in the arrangement of the stones, a deliberate concealment rather than a natural collapse. It was too neat, too perfect, hinting at an intentional design hidden beneath the debris. Following Elizabeth's intuition, James found a cleverly disguised crevice within the rockfall, revealing a narrow, hidden pass. Inside, the air grew still, and the walls were adorned with ancient, weathered carvings. These intricate depictions showed human figures not as supplicants, but as collaborators with immense, serpentine dragons. They appeared to be channeling energy, working in harmony, a profound testament to a forgotten era. Elizabeth's eyes widened with a scholar's delight, her long-held theories about the symbiotic relationship between early humans and dragons visibly confirmed by the ancient artistry. She quickly pulled out her leather-bound journal, its worn covers telling stories of countless hours of research, and began to sketch the carvings with fervent precision. Her hands moved swiftly, capturing every detail, her faith alight with the vindication of years of tireless study. Their progress was abruptly halted by a formidable obstacle, a deep, wide chasm that cleaved the pass in two. Its dark depths were impossible to discern, and the opposite side was barely visible through the perpetual gloom, appearing as a faint, indistinct outline against the distant rock. The sheer scale of the gap was imposing, a silent challenge to their determination, threatening to end their journey prematurely. James, ever the mountaineer, instinctively began to prepare his climbing gear, assessing the daunting task ahead. However, as he studied the rock face on the far side, his expression tightened with concern. The pervasive petrified blight had clearly taken its toll, rendering the stone brittle and dangerously unstable. Any attempt to traverse it would be fraught with peril, given that the rock crumbled visibly under even light pressure. While James grappled with the physical impossibility, Elizabeth turned her attention back to the ancient carvings, her mind racing. She meticulously traced the patterns, noticing a recurring motif that seems to relate to bridging gaps or connecting disparate points. Her eyes scanned their immediate surroundings. Then, with a sudden flash of insight, she pointed to an unassuming section of rock near the chasm's edge. "James," she called, her voice clear despite the tension, "press that loose stone, the one shaped like a dragon's tooth." Skeptical but trusting, James pressed the stone Elizabeth indicated. With a deep, grinding rumble that echoed through the pass, a section of the cliff face opposite them began to move. Slowly, deliberately, a narrow, ancient stone bridge, perfectly crafted and seemingly emerging from the rock itself, extended across the vast chasm. Both Elizabeth and James watched in astonished silence as the impossible became a tangible reality before their eyes. With newfound determination, they began to cross the newly formed bridge, their steps cautious but resolute. The ancient stone felt solid beneath their worn boots despite its age. In Elizabeth's hand, the Athelian compass now pulsed with a strong, steady light, its blue glow unwavering, indicating they were directly upon the ley line or very close to its nexus. The magical energy was palpable, a thrilling hum in the air. Reaching the other side, they found themselves before a massive, perfectly circular cave entrance, almost unnaturally smooth and symmetrical. It was unlike any natural cavern opening James had ever encountered. clearly an ancient, deliberate construction. From within its dark maw, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth emanated, a subtle heat that seemed to promise both solace and something far more profound. This was undoubtedly their destination, the heart of the mountain. The air outside the cave entrance was still and cold, a stark contrast to the growing warmth emanating from within. James, ever practical, struck a flint, and a flickering torch immediately illuminated the rough-hewn opening. A thick, earthy smell, reminiscent of ozone and heated rock, enveloped us as we stepped inside. Despite my apprehension, a profound sense of purpose propelled me forward. Deeper within the cavern, the Athelian compass pulsed violently in my hand, its internal crystal spinning with unprecedented speed. A brilliant blue light erupted from its core, illuminating the vast crystalline structures that lined the cavern walls. These formations, unseen in any of my texts, shimmered with an otherworldly energy, creating an overwhelming spectacle. It was a powerful affirmation of our journey. We continued our descent, following the main tunnel as it wound deeper into the earth. The air grew noticeably warmer with every step, a heat that felt ancient and alive, not merely geological. James remained vigilant, his hand never straying far from the hilt of his knife, whilst I clutched the compass, its light growing steadily brighter. A profound sense of expectancy filled the oppressive silence. The tunnel abruptly opened into an immense cavern, so vast its ceiling disappeared into the gloom above. In the very center, a colossal form lay curled, its sheer size dwarfing everything around it. It was a dragon, Igniscore, a creature of legend, now merely a monumental, slumbering presence. The sight was utterly breathtaking, a moment that transcended all my scholarly expectations. We approached cautiously, each step echoing in the cavern's immense silence. As we drew nearer, Igniscore's ancientness became painfully evident. Its once molten gold scales were now dull and flaking, and its breathing was shallow, barely a whisper of air. This was not the vibrant beast of lore, but a being clearly frail and suffering, a somber testament to the world's decline. Suddenly, one of Igniscore's massive eyes slowly opened, a fissure of fading magma. Its ancient, weary gaze fixed directly upon me, piercing through my scholarly composure. The intensity of that look was startling, as if it saw not just my physical form, but the very essence of my intentions. I felt utterly exposed, yet strangely compelled to meet its gaze. "You have followed the fading current," it rumbled, a thought rather than a sound. "Few remember the way to this heart of the world." The telepathic connection was profound, a direct link to a wisdom beyond human comprehension, leaving me momentarily breathless. Gathering my courage, I explained my findings, my voice resonating with earnest hope. I spoke of the Athelian compass, its purpose to locate and guide the world's fractured energy. My plan was to use it to forge a new, stable conduit for the ley lines, thereby stabilizing the world's failing magic and reversing the blight. I believed it was the only way. Igniscore's mental voice returned, heavy with an unbearable sorrow that seemed to fill the entire cavern. "The process you describe requires a sacrifice," it conveyed, the words echoing in my mind. My remaining life force must anchor this new conduit. I will not survive the anchoring. The revelation struck me like a physical blow, replacing my hope with profound shock and dismay. My initial triumph, the belief that I had found the solution, shattered into 1,000 pieces. A terrible weight of moral choice descended upon me, crushing all joy. I looked from the ancient, dying dragon whose sacrifice was demanded to the glowing Athelian compass in my hand. The world's salvation hinged on this impossible, tragic decision.
Es momento de la trivia. Te haré 2 preguntas sobre la historia que acabas de escuchar. Piensa bien las respuestas y déjalas en los comentarios. Pregunta número 1. ¿De qué color marcaba Elizabeth las líneas de energía moribundas en su diario? Tómate tu tiempo para pensar. Pregunta número 2. ¿Cuál sería la consecuencia para Igniscore si anclara el nuevo conducto de energía mágica? Esas son las 2 preguntas de nuestra trivia. No olvides dejar tus respuestas en los comentarios. Me encanta leer lo que piensan sobre las historias.
Si te gustó el video, pon me gusta, suscríbete y activa la campanita para no perderte la próxima parte.